Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver, and we may have just seen the game of the year last night. I'm not kidding. That was incredible. I picked the Cardinals to win. Big, actually, but wow. Wow, what a game. Cardinals-Packers. Going to start the show, obviously, with that. Obviously, later in the show, the staple of every show on Friday, all of my picks for Sunday, for Sunday's NFL action, Week 8, including my upset of the week and my segment which debuted this year. If I were a betting man, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all my picks. Looking forward to making them after 3 consecutive double-digit win, or excuse me, 3 straight double-digit win weeks for me. So I'm feeling good. Going to talk a little bit about the Warriors' close loss, my Warriors' close loss to the Grizzlies, and what the Warriors should do, because of that game moving forward, as well as the World Series. Got 3 games this weekend starting tonight at about 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. So a lot going on in sports. Going to talk a little Baker Mayfield as well. But let's start with the obvious, Cardinals-Packers. What a game, first of all. I mean, it was hyped up, and rightfully so, as the best Thursday night game this year. Certainly the best Thursday night game in years, plural. I mean, that was unbelievable. Now, the Cardinals were favored about -6, -6.5, depending on what betting site you use. If you use Fox Bet or if you use ESPN or just, Vegas in general. If I'm not mistaken, yesterday, the line right before kickoff was Cardinals -6.5, which I said, I almost made it my If I Were a Betting Man segment. I mean, I was that close. Why? Because the Packers are missing their top 3 receivers, 2 starting offensive linemen, and their top 2 corners. And they won. And they were the better team in doing so. Now, I'm going to talk about it from both sides' perspective, but before we continue, let's look at that final play, which is sending many, including myself, almost immediately after the play happened, into serious question.
High snap again. End zone and picked off! Intercepted by Rasul Douglas. And the Packers are going to win it. A.J. Green was the target, and he never looked for the ball.
Did not even look for the ball. Kyler Murray throws it right side. A.J. Green, who's been in the NFL for over a decade, was a great receiver in Cincinnati. Started to get a little older. They moved on from him as they're trying to get younger, obviously, with their great young quarterback, Joe Burrow. He goes to the Cardinals, and for the most part is produced. But I don't know what's happening. I mean, Troy Aikman said right after that play, excuse me, if you look at the other receivers on that play on the left side of the formation, they're running their routes. They're ready to catch a pass if Kyler goes their way. I wouldn't think A.J. Green forgot the play. I mean, it's week 8. I know it's his first year with the Cardinals. I get that, but it is week 8. We're midway through the NFL season. You guys are undefeated, or were undefeated, for a reason. So I'm not even going to try to dissect what was going through his head or what was going through anybody's head for that matter. I mean, I don't know what happened. But Kyler limped off the field, so the good news for the Cardinals is they don't play for another 10 days, right? That's obviously the one benefit of playing on Thursday Night Football. You get a little bit of extra rest. So we'll see where Kyler's injury is and where it progresses from here. It may be a story next week, certainly next Friday when I predict my games for Week 9, but that's a long way down the road. A lot of football games going to be played between now and then. But from the Packers' perspective, and I got to be honest with y'all, watching that game last night almost made me sick. You're like, why, Bryce? You're a Cowboys fan. Why do you care? You're not a Vikings, Lions, or Bears fan. Yeah, you're right. I'm not. But I don't have to deal with it within my own division. I have to deal with it within my own house. Because my sister is a Packers fan. And so we watched the game last night, and it was hard for me, especially that last play, man. I just kind of fell to my knees after that happened. It was rough. But I got to be honest about something. I've been a critic of the Packers and in some cases Aaron Rodgers over the past couple of years for numerous reasons, but probably chief among them is that anytime they ran into a physical football team, they didn't just lose, they just got hit in the mouth, embarrassed. Do I need to remind everybody in 2019, the 2 games against the 49ers or against the Chargers that year, even the Eagles, who the Packers were way better than, but not more physical than? Last year, you're talking about the game against the Colts in which they blew a 14-point lead, or the Bucs in week 6, I believe it was. They go to Tampa Bay and get blown out by 4 touchdowns. The NFC Championship game when, while it was close, yes, but they lost at home to a warm weather team, Tampa Bay. Saints in week 1, so I'm like, they can't play physical teams. Well, they did last night, and the script completely flipped. Completely. And when you consider, from Aaron Rodgers' perspective, what he was missing, Davante Adams, who many believe, I think DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in football, but I got Davante Adams number 2. I think he's ridiculously talented. He's unbelievable. But most people think Davante Adams is the best receiver in the league. And like I said, they got a very good argument to say so. He's out with COVID. Number 2 receiver, Allen Lazard, he's out with COVID. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's out with an injury. So Aaron Rodgers is throwing to guys like Robert Tonyan. He got hurt last night. I mean, they're lining Aaron Jones up wide in the formation. I mean, they're getting kind of desperate here. They're getting thin at the receiver position, but you're throwing to guys like Winfrey and Randall Cobb, who got 2 touchdowns yesterday. It looks like 2014 Randall Cobb. The St. Brown kid, who just got upgraded from the practice squad. I mean, like I said, they're so thin. Aaron Jones, the running back, led them in receiving with 51 yards on 7 catches. And the Packers still won. So, listen, if there's anybody out there criticizing Aaron's stats, I mean, they're not going to blow you away, especially for the guy that we know Aaron Rodgers to be. 22 for 37, a $184, a couple touchdowns, a QBR of 75. That's pretty good. Really more 76, and a passer rating of 90. Good. He didn't turn the ball over, but they're not going to blow you away. But this is what I always say about stats. They tell part of the story. They do not tell the whole story. If Aaron had all his receivers last night, that's kind of an unimpressive stat line. But missing 2 starters on his offensive line, missing his top 3 receivers, he could not have played better. My biggest criticism of the Packers is Matt LaFleur. That's who I'm criticizing. I thought he called a terrible game last night. I know a lot of people giving him flowers. I've never been a Matt LaFleur guy, ever. I mean, what was that play calling? People are talking about the play calling in the red zone on Green Bay's last offensive drive, when they got stopped and Arizona almost went the length of the field to win it. Aaron Jones gets stopped in the one that they initially ruled touchdown, then they marked him short. He got stopped again, and Rodgers threw 2 incompletions after that, the final being batted down. That was poor play calling there, sure. But some of it was good Cardinals defense. But in the first half, after I don't know. I don't know what was going through that kid's head. What's his name? Rondale Moore on the punt return when he got a fingertip on the ball and Green Bay recovered, inside the 1, and they have, they got a first and goal at I think the 3, and they throw it 3 straight times after they've been running the ball all over Arizona's defense. Aaron Jones is gashing them. A.J. Dillon is really gashing them. And they throw the ball 3 straight times and only get 3 out of it. So I think play calling for Green Bay, I've said this for weeks. Matt LaFleur is going to be what gets this team beat come January. It ain't going to be Aaron Rodgers. It could be this Packers defense, but last night, did you see the pressure they got on Kyler Murray? So all around, as far as the players, they could not have done a better job. Offensively, Green Bay did not turn the ball over. Aaron, while not wildly efficient, who would be missing their top 3 wideouts, made the big throws when he needed to. Randall Cobb, who to Aaron's credit, he advocated for the Packers to go get from Houston. He did, and look at Randall Cobb right now. He's been huge for the Packers. So they're beat up, yes, but just like the Cardinals, they got 10 days off before their next game. It won't be an easy one at Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs, although, we'll have to see what Kansas City looks like this weekend. Obviously, I'll predict their game. But I just, when you look at it, that was an unbelievable performance by Green Bay. And so now to Arizona's side of things. I get J.J. Watt was out, and he's out for the season. It sucks. And I hate it for J.J., and I hate it for the Cardinals. But when you know, for the most part, that the Packers, and this, how long has it been since we've made this statement? Probably, 30 years that we've been able to say the Packers' rushing attack is what can beat you over anything else. And the Green Bay Packers rushed for 151 yards. They did. Aaron Rodgers, putting his body on the line the way he did last night. You could tell Aaron wanted that win last night. Sometimes he can be a little blasé, a little, he's kind of got this hippie look right now. Like he can kind of bring that aura to the field at times. Last night was not the case. He was putting his body on the line. Obviously, everybody's seen all the memes where his chin strap's like up at his nose. I mean, it's pretty funny. But for the Cardinals, my thing is this. You're at home. The opposition is beat up. And you don't show up at all. They didn't. Kyler Murray had some plays last night. Well, Deandre Hopkins was in and out of the game with his hamstring. Come on. First of all, you still got A.J. Green, which I get A.J. Green made that mistake, but he nobody was talking about A.J. Green in negative terms up until that play. He played, fairly well last night. He had 50 yards. It's not bad. Christian Kirk played well. Edmonds, Connor, I mean, they all contributed to some degree. You're undefeated and you didn't lay an egg, but you got to win that football game if we're going to consider you a championship contender, like we consider the team that you lost to, the Packers or the Rams. Now, albeit they beat the Rams, but this is going to go one or two ways for the Cardinals. It's either a wake-up call or it's an opportunity for us to see, this team will probably make the playoffs, but we don't take them as seriously as, say, the Rams, the Packers, the Bucks, or the Cowboys. We're just not going to view them in that light. And so all in all, and I know people are saying like, wow, the Cardinals made all these mistakes. They almost won the game. Well, they shouldn't have even been in that position. I mean, with the opponent having as many injuries, again, one more time, Green Bay's top 3 receivers were out. 2 offensive linemen were out. And Green Bay's top 2 corners were out. And they completely outplayed you. Completely. Like, even if the Cardinals won, I would have come into the show today and said the better team did not win. The Packers were the better team last night. Point blank. They were the better football team from start to finish, and frankly, they deserved to win that game. Like I said, not even going to try to explain what A.J. Green was thinking on that play. Not even going to try. I got so many texts and DMs from all my good buddies like, what is he doing? I'm like, I don't know. So, well, maybe he'll try to give some explanation. Maybe he'll take responsibility. Who knows? But an unbelievable football game last night between 2 great football teams and, teams. I mean, Aaron Rodgers even said after the game that he told Kyler Murray, we'll see y'all in the playoffs. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but those are 2 elite teams for sure and a great game. All right, let me talk a little bit about the Golden State Warriors, my Golden State Warriors. As a matter of fact, I've got Steph Curry over my shoulder there hitting his iconic game winner against OKC back in 2016. But last night they lost their first game of the season to the Memphis Grizzlies. Watched the game start to finish right along with last night's Packers-Cardinals game. It was 2 great, two different sports, but 2 excellent games all the way around. And if for an October NBA game, it felt like a playoff atmosphere. It was how the game played out was so ironically similar to how the play-in game between Memphis and Golden State played out last May. I mean, it was kind of ironic just how all the events played out. But Golden State, they've got a 19-point lead in the first half. They relinquish it. They go to overtime. They fall to the Memphis Grizzlies. John Morant, who I love. I'm going to go ahead and admit I was wrong about who should have been selected number 1 in the 2019 draft. I still like Zion. John Morant's done more, and frankly, John Morant's a better basketball player than Zion. That's another conversation for another day, but I think that the numbers as far as games played. And something else, what's the old cliche? The best ability is availability. And John Morant's played 50 more games than Zion. They both came in the league the same year. And Zion is hurt again. And John Morant's out there going against a two-time MVP dropping 30 points. And something else, too, about Ja. Now he's starting to hit the three. He's shooting at about a 40% clip when he shot only 30% last year. And so if you add the ability to shoot the three to the athletic abilities that he has, wow, they're in a great position. The Memphis Grizzlies are. And this is a team that I said before the season, I think they're going to win 50 games. I think they're not going to. I think they're going to completely avoid the play-in tournament. I really do. I think this organization is really going the right direction. I really like Taylor Jenkins as the head coach, and you can build around this guy because he is going to be a superstar. He's going to be an all-star this year, but in the next few years, this guy's going to merge into a superstar, and after this season, he's going to get paid. No question. But I hear a lot of people right now criticizing two people for the Warriors, and that's the head coach and the superstar player. Let's start with Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr, people are criticizing him because okay, for those of you that don't watch Warriors games, this is how Steve Kerr likes to manage Steph's minutes. He plays him the entire first quarter, then he plays him about the last 6 minutes of the first half, and then he does the exact same thing in the second half. Plays for the whole third quarter, and then about the last 6 minutes of the fourth. And so, but what happened is that Steph didn't get in the game until about 4 minutes left. I mean, I'm watching the game. I'm like, Steve, we've got about 6 minutes left. You going to put Steph in? Well, no, he waited a couple minutes. Now, some of that to defend Steve might have been to manage Steph's minutes, right? It's October. This game is not going to, we assume, is not going to determine the outcome of your season in regards to the standings. It very well could. I mean, these are two playoff teams, but most likely that's not going to be the case. And my thing is for Steve, because everybody likes to call out the problem, but few people like to find the solution. My solution to the issue is this, because I've always thought the way Steve played Steph was a little weird. And you do it the same way in both halves, first half, second half. What you do is that you play Steph the first 6 minutes or so of the first quarter and the third quarter, and then play in the entire second and fourth quarters so that you can try and build a lead early. Maybe your bench will give up some of that, and then your MVP will come in and blow the game open, which he's fully capable of doing. Now, the other bit of criticism that many have been throwing out there is towards Steph. Now, some of this is completely fair. Like, Steph got some good looks last night, shots that we're very much used to seeing him take and make. He had a shot to win the game at the buzzer in the fourth quarter, and it was kind of a brick. But Steph scored 36 in the first three quarters, and he finished the game with 36. He went scoreless in the fourth quarter and overtime. And so some of that, I think, was the fact that Steve did wait to put Steph, waited to put Steph until there was about 4 minutes left in the fourth, which broke Steph's rhythm a little bit. So that's why I suggest play him the first 6 minutes. It gives him a little bit more maybe of a sense of urgency. Not that Steph doesn't have it, but you give him that, plays the first 6 minutes, builds a rhythm, and then at the end of both halves, you can let Steph do Steph things, right? And he was doing that at times last night. And so look, for my Warriors, what makes me excited is that Steph is still scoring the same amount of points pretty much that he did last year. And this year, about month and a half or so, 2 months from now, number 11's coming back. And so Steph is going to have more space. He's not going to get doubled near as much, if at all, because there's another shooting threat on the floor. And it's go time from there. This is a team that I said is going to win the 2022 NBA championship once they do get Klay Thompson back. And I still firmly believe that. They lost a close game. And something else that I think has been, or at least hasn't been talked about enough with the Warriors, is the turnovers. 23 turnovers, and Memphis had 23 points off of turnovers. So to Memphis's credit, they took advantage of Golden State's miscues. And so, and the Warriors had this exact same problem. It was a very similar game last week against the Clippers. It was a home game as well. They got I think they had like an 18-point lead over LA, but 20-plus turnovers. Clippers got back in the game, except unlike last night, Steph was able to hit some clutch shots in the fourth quarter, and Golden State won it. And so this is an opportunity for Steve Kerr to say, hey, look, we got to be more careful with the basketball. And the style of offense that the Warriors run, there's going to be turnovers. A lot of ball movement. It's going to happen. That's fine. But you can't have 23. That's unacceptable. You got to clean that up. So it's October. People are overreacting a little bit to this game as they would, a lot of games with teams that have championship experience. It's October. They'll figure it out. They got Clay coming back in a couple months. This is not like the Lakers problem. The Lakers problem is a roster problem. And there's not a ton of ways that you can make that a whole lot better except for trading guys. I don't think the Lakers are going to do that. I don't think the Warriors need to do that. So that's my thoughts. All right, let's talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield. Now, Baker's a guy who I've criticized, but I think my criticism has been fair. I will go ahead. I'm not going to spoil my prediction for the Browns game against the Steelers, but what I will say is this. I predicted this game. I always predict the final scores of the game, obviously the day before I do it to get some of the graphics ready for the show and whatnot. And I made my prediction for Sunday's game between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. When I got the notification on my phone from Ian Rappaport that Baker Mayfield was cleared to play Sunday, it didn't change my prediction. Sorry. Jedrick Wills, who's an offensive lineman for the Browns, kind of seems to agree with me. He even said, or his main point was that we didn't really, with Case Keenum at quarterback against the Broncos last Thursday, we didn't really feel a difference. Ooh. Didn't feel a difference? This is the guy the Browns want to give a lot of money. I've said on this show, the Browns should want to keep Baker Mayfield. They should. He's done some good things for him at the right price. Because like I said, if you give him Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson money, you're done. You are right back to being the same old Cleveland Browns. 5-win, 6-win team. Not immediately after you give them the contract, but as time goes, you won't have the amount of money to pay guys like Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt if you wanted to do so, or to keep the offensive line intact, or Myles Garrett. You won't have the money to keep these guys because you're overpaying for the guy who should be the main guy, Baker Mayfield. So don't take my word for it that my view on this game against the Steelers on Sunday didn't really change at all, regardless if it was Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield starting. Take one of the Browns' offensive linemen's word for it. Now, he's tried to backtrack it, right? Browns fans and everybody's coming after him. He told the truth. I mean, did you? I don't know. Browns fans, did you see a difference with Case Keenum out in the field against the Broncos? Both guys are accurate. Baker's a little more accurate than Case, but they're both pretty accurate quarterbacks, a little undersized, not very mobile, right? They're not going to make the throws. You're like, wow, look at that. That like an Aaron Rodgers or a Patrick Mahomes throw where you're just like, there's not many quarterbacks in the world that can make those throws, right? So don't take my word for it. Take an offensive lineman, a very good offensive lineman's word for it. That's kind of where I'm at on Baker. I'm glad he's playing on Sunday. You don't want anybody to be hurt, but this is these next few games are going to determine Baker Mayfield's future with the Browns because they play. I mean, you look at their schedule and they're playing the Bengals next week against Joe Burrow, who is clearly better than Baker Mayfield. You got the Patriots. I'm not high at all on Mac Jones. I mean, come on, guys. He beat the Jets, the Texans, and then the Jets again. But, you would like Baker Mayfield to show out against Mac Jones, right? Detroit, they're terrible, whatever. You play after that, the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is definitely better. You play the Ravens again after a bye. Derek Carr, who's better than Baker. Aaron Rodgers, who's better than Baker. You play the Steelers, who are a good team. And then you play Joe Burrow. And the Bengals, who's better than Baker? So what is that? The Browns have played thus far 7 games with 13 to, no, not 13, 10 to go. 10 games left in their season, and 6 of the 10 quarterbacks they'll play are, without a question, better than Baker Mayfield. Like, nobody thinks Joe Burrow is a lesser quarterback than Baker or Derek Carr or Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers, obviously. So let's keep that in perspective. Baker needs to ball out. If he wants that money, if he wants to stay with the Cleveland Browns, if he wants to be the franchise guy, he's not only got to win these games, he's got to play well in these games. He's got to be part of the reason that they win. I just don't know if he's capable of doing that. He hasn't shown me anything in his career to this point through four years that he can. But I've reserved the right to change my opinion if given new evidence. But I don't see it happening. Let's talk a little World Series before I get into my NFL predictions. Talked a little bit about it yesterday. Game 3, Astros-Braves, series tied at a game apiece, is tonight between the Houston Astros and Atlanta Braves. 2 excellent starting pitchers. Talked about that yesterday. I think I took the Braves to win tonight. I had Braves by a score, if I'm not mistaken, about 4-2, 5-3. I think it's going to be a 2-run game. I think because of the starting pitching, it's going to be low scoring. So I've got Braves winning 5-3 tonight. In Game 4, which is tomorrow night, pretty much the same time on Fox, we don't know the starting pitching. I think the Houston Astros will tie the series at 2 games apiece. Let's go. We'll see. It's hard to predict scores when you don't know the starting pitchers. Let's go 7-6 Astros in Game 4. And in Game 5 on Sunday, you got the NFL and the World Series. Thank you very much. I think the Braves win Game 5 and take a 3-2 lead. Now, that being said, if that does in fact happen, I think Houston's going to win the next 2 games at home to win the World Series in 7, like I predicted before the series even started. But this is, people saying, Houston's the clear favorite. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, Atlanta beat a very good Milwaukee team, albeit they tailed off a little bit, but Milwaukee's still a good baseball team. They beat a beat-up Dodgers team, but that's still the defending champs. And now they're in this dogfight with the Astros. So I think the games are going to be fairly close. I'll say Game 5, Braves win by a score of 4-1. 4-1, they win because, like I said, the Braves rotation is really good. Like, really good. So it's going to be fun to see how this turns out. So here we go. It is Week 8 of the NFL season. Like I mentioned to y'all, I went 10-3 last week. My 3rd consecutive double-digit win week, so I'm feeling good about myself, going into Week 8, which has got some excellent matchups. The Sunday night game's excellent. You got some 1 o'clock games that are really good. Even the in-between games, the 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific time games are good as well. So let's jump right into it. Let's get the music going. Let's start with the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, going into this game, as it stands right now, the Falcons are favored -3. Vegas is saying pick 'em. This is a go-either-way game. A Panthers team that's 3-4 started 3-0. That feels like a long time ago. Sam Darnold leading the NFL in touchdown runs. That feels like an even longer time ago. And this Carolina defense that it was at one point the #1 defense in football, well, that feels like eons ago. And so when you're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, who are on a hot streak right now, they're playing good football. If I'm not mistaken, they've won 3 straight. Kyle Pitts is looking like what we thought Kyle Pitts would look like coming out of Florida. Amazing. His last 2 games against the Jets, Dolphins, he's had over 100 receiving yards. He didn't have any touchdowns last week against the Dolphins, but he made an incredible one-handed catch. The game is in Atlanta. And the Falcons, who I didn't really like much at all coming into the season because of their defense, which still isn't very good. I think it's going to be their downfall. But Matt Ryan's playing good football. Kyle Pitts is playing well. They've got excellent receivers, as we all know, going into the year. So being at home, being that Sam Darnold's playing bad, He got benched last week against the Giants. The Giants. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons to win this game at 27-21. So they do cover the spread. I think they win this game. Look, they're feeling better about themselves. They're playing better than Carolina is. I don't know how much momentum at all that the Panthers could have going into a road game against a division rival. I do think it's close. I don't blame Vegas for making this a pick'em game, but I'm going to take the Panthers to drop their 5th straight game and lose to Atlanta 27-21. Sticking with another division matchup, let's go to the opposite conference. You got the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a pretty big spread. Bills are favored -14. Dolphins started 1-0. They very well, easily could be 0-7 if Damian Harris does not fumble for the Patriots. They win week 1. Miami has not won since. And so they're in a weird position right now because there's the Deshaun Watson talks right now. Brian Flores admitted he talked to Tua about the fact that they are inquiring about Deshaun Watson. Tua made a comment saying he didn't necessarily feel that appreciated by the Dolphins. So it feels like there's a lot of disconnection in that Miami locker room with the Deshaun Watson rumors, adding to the confusion that Tua has played really well over the last 2 games. He's turned the ball over a little bit. He did 2 times against Atlanta. But he's slinging it all over the field. He's making throws this year that I did not see him make last year. But that being said, I think this is a Buffalo team that is destined to make the Super Bowl. I've loved this team all year. They dropped a close one against Tennessee, but coming off a bye under Sean McDermott, one of the best coaches in football at home, Buffalo Bills win this game fairly easily. I think they cover the spread, not by that much. I mean, it's a 14-point spread. That's a lot. But the Bills do cover the spread. They win this game 38-22. This Dolphins defense has really struggled. So I will take the Bills to win this game. Let's go to the 49ers and the Bears. I didn't know what to do with this game. I really didn't. Niners on the road. This is a spread that really surprised me. Niners on the road are favored -4 at Soldier Field. Now, albeit, Bears looked terrible. Like, they look disorganized. Justin Fields turned the ball over 5 times against the Buccaneers last week. Now, a lot of teams are going to look bad against Tampa Bay. That's just the reality of it. Tampa Bay's, they're the defending champs for a reason. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever. We know that. But you got to put up more than 3 points. You got to do that. And so, the thing with San Francisco is, like Miami, I feel like there's a lot of disconnect in the locker room. Is it Garoppolo? Is it Trey Lance? I mean, Garoppolo once again came back last week off an injury and looked pretty bad. They struggled. Kyle Shanahan got out-coached. And so, looking at this game, Justin Fields, he can't look much worse than he did last week. And so I think the Bears, they're still in the playoff chase, which is kind of amazing, even, midway through the season. I think the Bears get an upset here. This was almost my upset of the week, but I'm going to save it for an upset that I think is going to shock you all. I'm going to take the Bears to upset, win 26-24 in a close one. I would not be shocked in the slightest if there's a short leash on Garoppolo and Trey Lance gets in. That would not take me by surprise whatsoever. And so even if that happens, whether it's Garoppolo, whether it's Trey Lance, I got the Bears winning this game and evening up their record at 4-4. Justin Fields plays well. Hopefully some mistake-free football. 26-24. San Francisco's kind of in a free fall right now. 4-game losing streak. Another division matchup. Talked about this briefly with the Baker Mayfield topic. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. Now, just mentioned earlier when I talked about Baker that my prediction for this game, whether it was Case Keenum or Baker Mayfield, it doesn't really affect the way I look at this game. As it stands right now, the Browns at home are favored -3.5. So Vegas, they're giving Pittsburgh a shot, certainly, but not quite a pick'em. The last time these two teams faced was in last year's playoffs, and Cleveland pushed Pittsburgh all over the field. Baker was dealing off the play action. Browns defense got multiple turnovers off Big Ben. I think this is the Myles Garrett game. I think Myles Garrett gets 3 sacks on Sunday. I'm dead serious. This Steelers offensive line has struggled. I think the Browns running attack, even without Chubb, even without Kareem Hunt, who's on IR, I think Dearness Johnson, who ran the ball very well, I think he had like 146 yards against the Broncos a week ago. I think he's going to have maybe not that many, but they're going to eat the clock, make it, not not ask Baker to do too much, especially coming off an injury, a shoulder injury, which on his throwing shoulder. So that's important. And so Pittsburgh will be down at times. And so I think Myles Garrett gets 3 sacks against a struggling Pittsburgh offensive line. They cannot run the ball at all. And so I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns to cover the spread and win this game 29-21. I do think it's a one-score game. However, I think the Browns cover the spread. You know, roster-wise, these two teams are fairly similar. I mean, Cleveland's roster is better, but Pittsburgh's got a good one. I don't really like either quarterback in this game, but the difference ultimately to me is the running game, which the Browns have and the Steelers do not. The Browns win this game. They win their second straight and get to 5-3. Browns get to 5-3. They do cover the spread. Let's go to what I've pretty much dubbed the incompetent, bad at press conferences coaches game. That's what I've dubbed it. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions, two coaches who had lackluster at best opening press conferences this year. Two rookie coaches, Nick Sirianni, who I called Coach Teleprompter after his opening press conference with the Eagles. Looks like he was looking at a teleprompter. It is my honor to become the next coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it was bad. It was a bad press conference. You got Dan Campbell, who's talking about biting kneecaps and doing this, that, and the other, and he's putting on racing helmets at press conferences. I mean, it is the mediocre at press conferences coaches game. The game's in Detroit. The Lions are the only winless team left. With that said, I think that continues. They dropped this game against the Eagles 24-19. There's a lot of discussion about Jalen Hurts. Is he the Eagles franchise quarterback? I've said on the show, I've been pretty consistent about this. I don't think he is. I think he's a backup. But I do think going into this game against a Lions team that's, they're winless. I mean, they're winless for a reason. They've lost some close ones, so I do think the Lions keep it somewhat close. By the way, the Eagles are favored on the road, -3.5. Eagles win this game 24-19. And I guess I'm continuing to beat the dead horse, but Jared Goff will drop to 0-15 without Sean McVay. Let's go to another division matchup. Maybe the best of the day, and maybe the biggest one. The Tennessee Titans, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, you got a Tennessee Titans team that's feeling good about themselves. They won 3 straight, and Derrick Henry, for context, Derrick Henry is leading the NFL rushing. That doesn't surprise anybody. Second place, Jonathan Taylor, who's in this game for the Colts, is 300 yards behind him. That's what Derrick Henry's doing right now. That's how great he is. He's in the MVP discussion without a doubt. Now, on the other hand, for the Colts, they're playing great football right now. I mean, great. They've won 2 straight. Carson, they very well could be 4-3 rather than 3-4 had they not blown that lead against Baltimore on Monday night a few weeks ago. But Carson Wentz is playing as well as he's ever played. He's still turning the ball over, which has always been a criticism of mine toward Carson. I've never been a huge Carson Wentz guy, but he's playing turnover-free football. I think, by the way, the Colts are favored -2.5, so bettors kind of like Tennessee a little bit more than Indianapolis. So I think with that said, it's a division rivalry. The game will be close, but I think even with the Colts playing well, even with Carson Wentz, who's starting to figure it out a little bit under his old buddy Frank Reich, what are the Colts going to do to stop Derrick Henry? What are they going to do? They got a new game plan that we haven't seen from anybody else in the NFL? I highly doubt it, even with the linebackers that they have. And so I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans to win this game, win their 4th straight game, 31-26. Not only did the Colts not cover the spread, the Titans win it as dogs on the road. Again, how are you going to stop Derrick Henry? And so Ryan Tannehill, who's really a better version of Baker Mayfield in that he's mobile and he's, slightly more accurate, doesn't turn the ball over as much. Ryan Tannehill, off the play action, can get guys like A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, who is questionable to play. I think he'll play. So I think Ryan Tannehill plays well, and Derrick Henry looks like arguably the MVP of the NFL this season. Let's give that man his respect and his love. And the Titans win this game 31-26 and sweep the Indianapolis Colts this season and build their division lead to 3. But if the Colts win, the division lead shrinks to 1. It shrinks to 1, so that will be very interesting. My man Grady from In the Corner He's going to start a new podcast soon, guys. Be sure to look out for him. He says the Titans are the dark horse team in the AFC, man. They could get to the Super Bowl. You know what? Wouldn't shock me. Because my criticism, Grady, of the Titans last year, they couldn't stop anybody. Derrick Henry was great. Ryan Tannehill had maybe the best season of his career. He couldn't stop anybody. Now, in opportune moments, they held the Chiefs, albeit the Chiefs aren't playing well, but that's still Patrick Mahomes. That's still Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. They held them to 3 points. They forced turnovers. Some of those were Mahomes' fault, but some of that was the Titans playing good defense, taking advantage of opportunities that Mahomes gave them, which they weren't capable of doing last year. So props to the Titans. And yes, they could get to the Super Bowl. They really, really could. And in today's NFL, 2021 NFL, where, it's not as much of a running league, or at least having a great running back isn't as important as it used to be, Titans could do it. Let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals and the New York Jets. The Bengals are favored on the road minus 10.5, and for good reason. The Bengals are playing great football right now. They've won, I think, 3 straight games. They beat the brakes off the Ravens last week. Just demolished them. And going into the Meadowlands against a Jets team that is garbage. Zach Wilson, who I've started to buy into a little bit this season, I may have to start backing off the bandwagon a little bit. I may have to. Robert Saleh coached a terrible game last week against Bill Belichick, coming off a bye, and he says, yeah, we didn't make any changes. Really? Nothing much more to say about this game. Bengals win easily, 37-14. They cover the spread and then some. This is a mismatch on so many levels. The Jets cannot get to the quarterback, and that's a big break for the Bengals because they don't have a great offensive line, despite what some would like to tell you. As well as the fact that Jamar Chase, 200 yards receiving last week against a Ravens secondary that isn't great. Well, it's not like the Jets is much better. And so Burrow has a big game. So does Jamar Chase. Bengals win this game and continue to have the best record in the AFC. The Cincinnati Bengals at midseason, if they win Sunday, which I think they will continue to have the best record in the entire conference. So it's great about the NFL, man. You never know about these teams sometimes. Let's move on to another game, which shouldn't even be close. The Los Angeles Rams, the Houston Texans. Rams are favored on the road minus 14.5. Let's just go and put the score up. This is not even worth talking about. Rams win this game 34-10. They're just... sorry that I don't give you a great breakdown of it, but they're just better. The Texans are probably the worst team in the NFL. They're terrible. Davis Mills, who I liked out of college at Stanford, you can't throw him into the situation where Deshaun Watson struggled. And we all know Deshaun Watson, when he is on the field, how great he is. Davis Mills, you're throwing a quarterback, a rookie quarterback into this situation. That is totally unfair. The Rams win easily 34-10. Comment here from Grady Edwards. He said there's Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, the connection. Reminds me a lot of the early 2000s connection with Carson Palmer to Ocho Cinco. Hopefully they end up better, though. Yeah, hopefully that great quarterback to receiver connection does last longer than Ocho and Carson Palmer did. So, but that was lethal. That was a lethal connection. Ocho Cinco had some big games against the Ravens and other teams. So, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, man, they're peas in a pod. They were at LSU. They're still that with the Bengals. Let's move on to the 4 o'clock games. The later slate, you got the New England Patriots taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, the Chargers are coming off a bye. They are favored minus 4.5 in this game. New England's coming off a dominant win over the Jets, in which I think, and certainly Patriots fans, I believe you're a Patriots fan, Grady. Patriots fans all over America can see, Belichick ran the score up on the Jets. Belichick, it's no secret, he doesn't like the Jets. That's how the Spygate, scandal started. He was spying on the Jets, as well as the rest of the league, but who was the team that broke the news? It was the Jets. So Belichick doesn't like them. That's fairly obvious. But going into a game against a rookie head coach, Brandon Staley, New England will keep it close. Mac Jones, not big on him, but he has played good football the last couple of weeks. I'll give him his props. I'm watching the games like everybody else. He's played good football. But going against a Chargers team that's well-rested, a Justin Herbert who wants to put his last game against the Baltimore Ravens in the rearview mirror. I think the Chargers are going to come out trying to make a statement. I don't think they cover, but I think they win this game close. I think it comes down to the last 2 minutes, 28-24. I think this is going to be one of the better games on Sunday. The Chargers win 28-24. This New England defense is no joke. Now, Rashawn Slater, who as a rookie might be the best left tackle in football. He's probably the best left tackle prospect out of college since Tyron Smith. He is lights out. So Matthew Judon and the other Patriots pass rushers will have some problems getting to Justin Herbert. But with that said, I got the Chargers winning this game. They don't cover the spread, but they win 28-24 and dent New England's playoff chances. Let's go to now our upset of the week, probably one of the more shocking upsets of the week that we've had this season. You've got a team that broke a 20-game losing streak going into a building that used to be one of the most feared in the NFL. But the team that plays in that building looks as bad as the team that lost 20 straight games because they don't have their starting quarterback. I am talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks. Put the score up right now. Jaguars win this game on the road. I'm calling it 21-17. I'm gonna plunge right here. This is probably my biggest upset of the week pick of the year. At the end of the day, look, Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, with all the controversy and everything, they came out, albeit against Miami, in London, but they came out with a great game plan. Their offense could look a little bit outdated at times, but down the stretch, when they got the ball back at midfield, they did exactly what they needed to do. That play call with 5 seconds left was excellent to get them in a field goal range, and they won it with a game-winning field goal against the Miami Dolphins. So I think Jacksonville goes into Seattle, who's playing with no confidence whatsoever in their quarterback. I think at this point in their head coach, I talked about that on yesterday's show, I think Jacksonville gets it done. I think Jacksonville goes to Seattle and wins 21-17 in somewhat of an ugly game. But it will be fun. Grady says, talking about Belichick and the Jets, he said, hey, that he was their coach for a hot second. He was there, and then he's out. Then he went to New England, and the rest is history. Mostly because of Brady, but, you know. All right, let's go to the Washington football team taking on the Denver Broncos. Washington has lost 4 consecutive games. They've lost three consecutive games. Taylor Heineke is not playing well at all. Defensive coordinators now have some film on him. You know, I said that once Ryan Fitzpatrick got back, that I thought they'd still stick with Taylor Heineke. If he keeps playing the way he is right now, they're going to go to Fitzpatrick when Fitzpatrick's healthy. He's not playing well at all. So going into Denver, who likewise is not playing good at all, they also, like the Carolina Panthers, start 3-0, and they lost 4 straight since. Not Vance Joseph. I'm thinking about their old head coach. They're going to have a change at head coach this offseason. There's no question about it. Vic Fangio is an excellent defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach, especially with this Broncos roster. To be fair to him, he's never had a franchise quarterback, but, you know, it's been up and down. So right now the spread as it stands is Broncos -3. So they're saying pick 'em. This is our second pick 'em of Sunday. Talking about, you know, Atlanta and Carolina, and now Denver hosting the Washington football team. And I think the spread is absolutely correct because I have the Denver Broncos winning this game on a game-winning field goal, 27-24. I think the line at Broncos -3 is right on the money. I think that's how it turns out. I think these two teams are fairly evenly matched. It's funny. Both teams are talented, but desperately in need of a starting franchise quarterback, and neither has it. And so with that said, I trust Teddy Bridgewater more than I trust Taylor Heineke. That's what it comes down to. And I think the Broncos win on a game-winning field goal, 27-24, and win their first game in over a month. Let's go to now our segment, which debuted this year, is one of my favorite segments of the year.
Would I a betting man?
If I were a betting man, I look at the line between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. The game is in New Orleans, and the Buccaneers on the road are favored -4.5. Now that in itself seems like a fairly good line, especially on the road. I mean, you'd take that if you're Tampa Bay. But Demario Davis, who's a great linebacker and a great human being, was talking about the New Orleans Saints' hard hat defense. How they got their hard hats on. Talking about how they played last week on Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. Well, Geno Smith, ladies and gentlemen, let's cut out the music for just a second. Geno Smith is not Tom Brady. It's one thing to play Geno Smith in the driving rain. It's quite another to play Tom Brady after you kind of took a shot at him. So in the words of another GOAT,
it became personal with me.
That's how Tom Brady's going to view this. He going to take this personal. And so with that said, if I were a bet man, I would take the Bucs minus 4.5 and then some, 41-24. I think Tampa Bay dominates this football game. I don't think it's particularly close. I think Jameis Winston is going to come out trying to do too much against his old team. Sean Payton may try to kind of, reel him back in. And I think he will do so. Winston will settle in, come second quarter. But there's only so much you can do to stop a Tampa Bay team that is just rolling right now on both sides of the ball. Their defense has started to turn it around a little bit despite the injuries. They're starting to get healthier. And so the Buccaneers go on the road to New Orleans, where obviously they eliminated the Saints and ended Drew Brees' career in the divisional round. Bucs win this game. If I were a bet man, I would take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to cover the minus 4.5 spread and win 41-24. The final game is, I have a comment here from Grady. He says, I know this is a side topic, but do you have any thoughts on the potential change from bullpen to arm pin? Let me save that. Stick around, Grady. I'll save that for the end of the show after we get done with the picks. I'll put up the comment in just a second. But that's that's really funny. All right, last game, the Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, and the Minnesota Vikings. This line has been going up and down all week. For the most part, Vegas has liked the Vikings. It's been as small as minus 1.5. And it's been as large as it is right now, minus 3. That is because of one reason. Dak Prescott is questionable to play. We don't know if Dak's going to play or not. I'm 50-50. My gut tells me he'll suit up. And he will start at quarterback for the Cowboys on Sunday night. For many reasons. One, it's not a do-or-die game whatsoever for the Cowboys. They've got a 3.5 lead in the division. I think, the Eagles are going to win, but that's not going to affect Dallas. Washington's going to lose. And obviously the Giants played the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, which I'll predict on Monday. But looking at Dallas, they ran the ball all over the Vikings last year without Dak. And like last year, they're coming off a bye. And I've been critical of Mike McCarthy. But last year, the Cowboys looked like one of the worst teams in the NFL. They had a bye week. They came back on the road against a hot Minnesota team and outplayed them completely. It was close, but they outplayed them. And so with Kirk Cousins playing his best ball of the season, they'll run the ball well, but we all know what Kirk Cousins does in primetime games. It's no secret. Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, he struggles. He always has. And so I think, with that said, I think Dak Prescott plays and plays well. The last time he played the Vikings, it was one of the best games he's ever played in his career back in 2019. I think he gets revenge from that game, which the Cowboys lost in large part due to Coach Clapper, Jason Garrett. I think it's a shootout. I think Dallas wins this game 35-31. I think Dallas is a balanced offense. They can do whatever they want. Minnesota is, at least will be Sunday night, somewhat one-dimensional. Like I said, Kirk Cousins does struggle on Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football, primetime in general. He will go toward Adam Thielen a lot because Trayvon Diggs is going to be guarding his old SEC rival, Justin Jefferson. So Adam Thielen is going to get a lot of opportunities, and at times Kirk will give him opportunities to make plays, which he's fully capable of making. But I think when it comes down to it, who do you trust more? Even a Dak Prescott on a bum calf or Kirk Cousins? I trust Dak Prescott. I think everybody else trusts Dak Prescott. The Cowboys win this game. Not only do the Vikings not cover the spread, I think the Cowboys win it outright, 35-31, and go to 6-1 on the season. I will be a happy camper on Monday's show. Let me pull that comment back up before we go. Grady Jarrett. I'm sorry, Grady. I was thinking about the Falcons defensive tackle. Grady Edwards says, I know this is a side topic, but do you have any thoughts on the potential change from bullpen to arm pin? Well, first of all, it's not going to get changed For those of you out there that are unaware, PETA has claimed that bullpen, obviously, where the pitchers warm up in baseball, is offensive to bulls, and that they should change it to arm pin. First of all, it's not going to happen. So there's no need to really even have a discussion about it, only to have a good laugh. Second, I mean, listen, I know in the last year or so we've had, or year and a half, we've had, name change. Washington football team's going to get changed. The Cleveland Indians are going to now be the Cleveland Guardians, like, as well as other things. Names have been changed for, for reasons in regards to racism and things like that, which obviously I get. This is, guys, arm pin, guys, come on now, please. I will. I know I do the segment, I know I do the segment.
Bettin Man.
I know I do that, but seriously, there's got to be some spread in Vegas that Joe Buck or John Smoltz make some joke about this during the World Series. I would think they'd make it as soon as tonight. I could see Joe Buck saying, and in the bullpen warming up for the Houston Astros, Jake Odorizzi, or warming up in the arm pin for the Astros, Jake Odorizzi. I can hear it in my head right now. He's going to do it. I guarantee you he's going to do it. Joe Buck's kind of a jokester. So with that said, that is all the time we have for tonight's show. Happy Halloween, everybody. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy, doing whatever you do for Halloween. If you watch scary movies, if you dress up, you eat candy, do what you got to do. Have a good time in doing so. It's going to be a fun weekend full of sports, full of tricks and treats and things of that nature. World Series, NFL, college football has some amazing games tomorrow. So looking forward to all those. So with that said, have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Catch us on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter. You know where to find us. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. God bless you all.